So hello, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Boyd Donald. I'm a JROTC instructor here at the Bel Air Magnet High School, located here in beautiful Baton Rouge, Louisiana, in East Baton Rouge Parish School District. The grade level of the students included in the video was a clear representation of all our students. We have freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors in the class. And I thought it was important to show that type of diversity because we teach all level of students here at Bel Air High School. So although I've really focused on sophomores, we had a combination of all 4 grade levels here in the classroom. The content that I was teaching, the title of my particular topic at that time was Wellness, Fitness, and First Aid. And the curriculum that I used, or the standards that I used, was going to be a 90-minute block of instructions that will be covered over 2 45-minute period of instructions so that we can engage the student, do small group teaching, and also be able to provide them with the clickers. As you'll notice, they use clickers to answer questions throughout the classroom instructions. I actually reviewed my lesson plan, and my lesson plan was clearly a 5-page document. I actually reviewed the PowerPoint presentation. I searched YouTube to make sure that I had a video that the kids could relate to, that was relatable, and I also just rehearsed myself prior to inviting the kids into the classroom. The lesson or the content of the overall goals were to make sure that the kids clearly were able to meet the learning objectives. And those learning objectives are as follows. Be able to explain the significance of the Good Samaritan law, and you'll be able to see that throughout the video. I kept asking them that question and having them to restate it in their own words so that they could recall it at any time. And if they want to share it with someone, they will be able to tell them without a doubt what the Good Samaritan law is and how it affects non-licensed personnel. They were able to identify the steps for evaluating a victim, identify the 7 life-saving steps of first aid, and I'm not quite sure if we got to that part of the lesson plan, but we tried to. Identify the information needed when calling emergency numbers such as 911 and the importance of staying clear and speaking slowly so that they could get that point across, and then describe the purpose of the universal precautions. And then they were able to define keywords such as CPR, consent, emergency medical services, better known as EMS, evaluate first aid, and then once again be able to define what the Good Samaritan law is. I'm passionate about these students, and I call them, if you ever see me in action, I always say, "Hi, baby," and things like that, because I have kids their age, and I like to think that anyone that will spend as much time with these kids, that they're passionate about them, because you have to love your job. It's not about the pay. So when you find something that you enjoy, it's not like coming to work. It's like being here with these kids in the absence of their parents. And I want to make sure that I'm putting my best foot forward on a day-to-day basis in the absence of their parents. So if they ever need anything, or ever want anything, or want to talk to me about anything, they're confident in knowing that they can come to me and I'm going to solve that problem. I don't think I would change anything about the lesson. I think the lesson ran smoothly. If you ever come into my classroom, you'll see this day in and day out. I incorporate my clickers a lot because not only can they practice and rehearse answering questions, they're reading out loud. I'm ensuring that they have their reading comprehension is on level. So I like for my kids to use a clicker, so I wouldn't say that I would do anything differently. What will happen after this is that, as you notice, that prior to my kids coming into the classroom, we always have them line up and recite the Cadet Creed. And I encourage my kids to live by that Cadet Creed, because one thing that we have them recite is that I will not lie, cheat, or steal. I'm responsible for my actions. I'm a good citizen. So I tell them to start living that, because the things that they say and recite in that Cadet Creed are things that they can carry on throughout their life. Our motto is a reason to get them motivated, get them excited to coming into the classroom. And then we always let them use our mission statement, or say the mission statement, to become a better citizen. So we encourage them to live by what they recite. And by reciting that daily, I would think that it's embedded in their minds and their hearts so that they can act accordingly.
Class, attention!
Bingo, right!
Please join me in reciting the Cadet Creed.
I'm an Army Junior ROTC cadet. I will always conduct myself to bring credit to my family, country, school, and course cadets. I am loyal and patriotic. I am the future of the United States of America. I will not lie, cheat, or steal. I will be accountable for my actions and deeds. I will always practice good citizenship and patriotism. I will work hard to improve my mind and strengthen my body. I will seek the mantle of leadership to stand fast, uphold the Constitution, and regular life. May God grant me strength to always by His creed.
Who? And the mission statement is?
To motivate young people to be better citizens.
Who's ready?
We're ready. We're ready. Hook. We're ready. We're ready. Hook. Been ready, ready, rock, steady, steady, Bengals. Been ready, ready, rock, steady, steady, Bengals. 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 Bengals.
Morning, baby. Make sure you translate it. So, good morning again, guys. As I stated earlier, we're going to discuss wellness, fitness, and first aid. And the good part about this, guys, and as I mentioned earlier, the purpose of this class, and you should always have a reasoning for why we're teaching you a class. Because my intention is, if I tell you what the purpose of it, you'll think that is important, or you remember that is important, and then you'll have a tendency to keep that in your bank, your bank of knowledge. So the reason why this is important, guys, is because not only have you received first aid from someone, you may have the opportunity or be put in a situation where you have to administer first aid, right? How many of you guys have administered or received first aid before? Raise your hand. Anybody? Just one person? Come on, guys. No one have had a Band-Aid. No one has had, oh, you see what I'm saying? That could be considered first aid, right? Have you ever, given someone a Band-Aid, given somebody some type of first aid, where you put a Band-Aid on them, you wiped the bobo off, you went to your mom and said, kiss it? No? Y'all remember those days? So now my question is this. Think about first aid, and have you ever had to administer to somebody? You guys raise your hand, right? So now, does it ring a bell to you now? Right? So we're going to move on, okay?
To what degree is learning about first aid important to you?
Those that have the clickers, activate your clickers. Everyone else, let's talk about it. A, I am extremely interested in learning about first aid. Yes or no? And what is their response? No. They're not interested? At least they're honest, right? Because probably about this age, at your age, I probably wasn't interested in first aid either. But I find that is important. For my previous student, what exactly is the Good Samaritan law? Tell me, guys. Tell me. For the most part, when we get into the lesson, the one thing about the Good Samaritan law is this. If you administer first aid to someone, you cannot be held accountable if it doesn't turn out right, right? Because you went in there with the right intent. So you want to provide some type of assistance, but you don't want to not help them because you think that individual is going to sue you, right? So that's basically what the Good Samaritan law is, but we're going to talk about that later. This is the learning objectives for this particular lesson, guys. Once again, we're going to explain the significance of Good Samaritan law. We're going to identify the steps for evaluating a victim. We're going to identify the 7 life steps. We're going to identify the information needed when calling. We're going to describe the purpose of universal precaution, and then we have to define keywords. What's the most important thing that we always forget about CPR? Once you are CPR certified, right? And how many of you guys are going to be first aid and CPR certified this year? It should be most of my sophomores, juniors, and seniors, right? My freshmen, you'll get it as a sophomore, right? But the most important part, guys, is that you keep your card valid, right? You don't want it to expire because I think that card is good for 2 years, right? And then we'll talk about consent, emergency services. So remember that, guys, what EMS stands for. Look at that. Tell me what EMS stands for, guys. That's right. So when you see that question again, you won't be confused. Say it again. What does EMS stand for?
Emergency medical service.
Okay, and then you'll be able to evaluate, provide first aid, and most importantly, you'll understand what the Good Samaritan law is. Because our intent, if someone needs help, we want to be able to provide that assistance that they need.
Good Samaritan laws in the United States are laws or acts protecting from liability those who choose to aid others who are injured or ill. They are intended to reduce bystanders' hesitation to assist for fear of being sued or prosecuted for unintentional injury or wrongful death.
What is the definition of a Good Samaritan law? Say again? They're not looking for any monetary gift, right? A gain. What were you going to say? Someone that's doing a good deed, right? Okay, someone that's not hesitant to provide some type of support. Am I gonna put my mouth to somebody else's mouth?
Oh, no.
I would if I didn't have that tool. Yes, I would. You would. Okay, say for instance, if you're lying there unconscious, would you worry about if that guy had that tool or not? Or would you just want them to provide whatever that they need to bring you back? Yes or no? No, I'm like, put your lips on my lips. I don't care. I'm unconscious. Are y'all serious? How many of y'all feel that way? So now you need to give consent for them to treat you? No, they're going to assess the situation. You over, you guys are going to be scenario number 3, and I need you to translate, okay? You guys are going to have scenario number 4. And I think we have 5 scenarios, so I'm going to break the table down. 1 victim per table. You guys are going to be 2 tables. Mr. Ray, you're going to be a victim because you've been kind of sleepy. Okay? Mr. Moore, you're the victim for this table.
You're gonna be the one who's driving the car, wasn't paying attention, and since they only described 2 people in the car, the one that was in the back and the one that was driving. One of us is gonna have to be the ambulance because they didn't. Basically, it's like they didn't describe the other friend, so.
You know, they said the friend in the back seat.
Yeah, they didn't describe the one in the front seat, so I'll be the ambulance, and Sadie's the friend in the back seat that has neck pain.
Oh, man.
Okay, so act like we're in the car, I'm driving, and I stop. You're too busy in your phone, you're not looking, and you run into the back. Sadie didn't have her seatbelt on, so she like eject out the car.
But she don't know what to do.
So what am I? I'm okay. No, I'm gonna read the scenario. I'm gonna read the scenario.
In our scenario,
Listen up, guys.
there's 3 people going to the mall, but there's only 4 of us, so we changed it, and it's basically gonna be 2 people going to the mall. So I'm driving, and Sadie's in the back. Sadie's in the passenger seat, and the light turns yellow. So I don't want to run it, so I stop. He's not paying attention. He's all in his phone, and he runs in the back of the car. Sadie doesn't have her seatbelt on. So I look over, and she's complaining about her neck and her back. And I get out the car to make sure he's okay. And I see blood coming down his face, and I don't know if he's conscious or not. And what I'll do, I'll call the ambulance for them to give me further instructions. Class, attention! Oh, my commander, fall out. Fall out.
It takes all instructors to get the kids to the finish line, and the finish line is graduation. So it doesn't take one person, it takes a village to raise a kid, and that's what we do here at Bel Air High School. We are a village, we are a family, and it takes every one of us, not just the core, but all the non-core teachers, the administration. It takes all of us to get these kids to the finish line. So that's what I want the panel to know. I didn't get here by myself. All my co-workers, my peers, they got me here, and I'm a representation of the Bel Air Magnet High School, and I say that with pride because we are doing great things here. As you will see, our numbers are going upward. Our kids are happy. They want to be here at Bel Air High School, and we have a fabulous administration that works with us. And as my principal, Mrs. Jones, always tells us, we are in servitude. We serve the children that come here day to day, and I'm glad to be a part of this team, and I'm glad to be a non-core teacher. Thank you.